Hello everyone, welcome to another Tidgneys GT Sport Driving School. This is episode 17 and this is all about equipment. Now it's not just about which is faster, okay, in terms of pad, wheel and load cell brakes, which are the main three areas we're going to look at here. But it's all about the transition. How do you go from one to the next? Because if you do transition or buy a new piece of equipment, you are going to be slower on that equipment. It's just a factual thing. Now, first of all, the common question, which is faster, the pad or the wheel? Now, the answer to this is fairly straightforward. Look at the top times, look at what most people are using. It is the wheel. What's not so straightforward is the fact there are still some very fast pad players there who can compete at the top end of the leaderboard. So let's explain some of the strengths first of all. Now, with a pad, you can correct oversteer so much quicker than you can on a wheel. Because literally, when you're on a pad, you're literally doing that. It's very quick to do, left to right, nice and easy. And on top of that, Gran Turismo also has some secret driving aids in the background to help pad players, to make sure they can race in the game. So, you know, a pad can be very strong. And I think that's when I was a pad player in 2011, when I was competing at the very top of GT Academy, I was still competing with the wheel users. They were just a tiny bit quicker. Now, wheels, of course, is very straightforward why they're very good. They can be very precise with the steering. So literally, you could just do that. Go to any degree of turning, wherever you are, and you could turn the car and the wheels will follow in the game. You also have force feedback. So obviously, the game is then giving you information. Is the car about to oversteer? Is it understeering? All that kind of stuff. So a wheel is very strong in that sense, and that's why it's slightly quicker, because you can be more precise. Over a fast lap, a wheel will be slightly quicker, just due to that. You know, you can be very precise. And that's the same with the pedals as well. When you accelerate, you literally can pick any angle on the pedals or the brake, and you can be more precise. Whereas a stick, you know, if you've got 100% and it's that distance only, versus a pedal which is that distance, it's very easy to hit the more precise percentage when it's a bigger gap. And that's the sort of philosophy we're going for here. But as I say, some of the best players in the world who have made regional finals and world tours have been pad players. You know, I'll try and get some footage of some of the Japanese regional final in there. There were some pad players. There were some pad players using the motion thing in a pad. I don't know how they do that, because that to me is a unique skill and fair play to them. But then, you know, even in EMEA, we've got LGR Thomas, Wi-Fi Code. They made the first regional event. They were pad players at that time. We've got Lam in the United States, a pad player as well. Still uses the pad, I believe. And there's been other fast pad players around the world who have made it to these finals. So it's not that you can't get there. So please do not feel, and this is the first thing I want to say, that you have to go out and buy a wheel to be fast, because it's not true. In fact, if you go out and buy a wheel, whether it's £130 for a Logitech G29, or £500 for the TGT, which I've got right here, or a £2,000 Fanatec direct drive wheel, or whatever it might be, you are not going to go faster. You are going to be going slower than you did. And this is the whole point of this driving school episode to some extent. Because you are going to go slower if you spend that money, jump on, and you're like, wow, I'm going 2 seconds slower than I did on a pad. What's going on? I did the exact same. So in GT Academy 2011, I was the fastest pad player in the world, okay? I was using one of these, or the PlayStation 3 variation of this, and I was racing on one of these. And I was doing very well. I'd say I was the fastest pad player in the world at that time on that given event. Not in the world generally, because I think there was a Japanese player called Samurai who was faster than me just in general on a pad. But even so, I was using this and I was one of the best in the world on a pad. Now, I then, during the event, Famin messaged me from GT Planet and said, you're going to have to use a wheel at the event. So I was like, ooh, okay. So I went on eBay and bought a Logitech G25, a used one, and then I started using that. I only had a wheel stand pro as well, which is like, so the whole combination of that was like £200 basically for a stand, a wheel and pedal set. I still have that wheel stand pro as well, it's over there. But even so, I started then practicing with the wheel, and guess what? I was slower. I was slower initially straight off the bat. So what I did, obviously I'd already set a pad time. I then just kept going on the wheel to try and improve. Now the problem is that if you've been using a pad for 5 years, 10 years, your whole life you've been using a pad, and you buy a wheel, obviously your muscle memory is to the pad. So whenever something happens with the car as you are racing, you just instantly remember what you did on a pad, not what you did on a wheel, whether it's oversteer, understeer, whatever it might be, braking, accelerating, etc. So the one thing you have to learn to do is to set a pad time, or one thing to do, should I say, rather than learn to do, is one thing I would recommend. Go on any of the daily races, right? It doesn't matter whether it's A, B or C, and set a time on your pad. Alright? You then, once you've set the time, and to spend a good amount of time doing this as well, don't just set one lap time and then try and beat it on the wheel. Spend the normal amount of time you would on a pad. Set the time. Go on your wheel, set up your wheel, do whatever you normally do. Set up your wheel, and go on. You will be slower initially, but keep at it. Whether it takes you a week, whether you don't beat it at all in the first week, that could happen. But don't get disheartened. So let's just say you don't beat it in the first week. Next week, daily races again, pick A, B or C, doesn't matter which one. Again, set a time on a pad, jump on it with a wheel. I can guarantee in that second week you will beat your pad time. Or at least come close. You won't be as consistent, but you will beat it. Third week, same thing again, pad time, then go on and do the wheel. And what you'll see gradually is that you'll be getting much quicker on the wheel and much quicker, if that makes sense. You know, it takes you a lot less time to get quick on a wheel. What you're doing there is you're building muscle memory and also your confidence, because then suddenly you're remembering how to turn at 25% on a wheel, 90% on a wheel, etc. as you go around. Same with throttle and brake, you're learning where 100% throttle is and 50% is. Obviously on Gran Turismo, that is not a linear pedal, so it's a little bit more difficult, but we'll just push that to one side for now. You'll keep doing that each week. Now when you can suddenly start beating your pad time on the same day, within the same hour, whatever it might be, set your own goal in this instance, then you can just start forgetting all about this and just using your wheel. Now you will then go slower on your pad because you're not using it anymore. I'm now rubbish on this. I'm nowhere near good on a pad anymore, because I used to be amazing at it. So keep doing that until you are very comfortable in terms of the wheel and getting used to it. And then, as I say, you'll then naturally just be good on a wheel. This actually helps in real life, believe it or not. In my opinion, I'm a better driver from the wheel and using the pedals than not using it, because I'm constantly doing that. Obviously in real life you're using a steering wheel, so you get used to it. The steering wheel is bigger, and if you do get a bigger steering wheel, obviously the Fanatec CSL Elite, that's a bigger steering wheel by 2 inches, you can actually be more precise, because obviously your hand movement says like that is 10%, but on a smaller wheel, if you do that, it's like 20%. It's that sort of principle. But there is pros and cons to bigger and smaller wheels. I won't get into that because it's just user preference. Generally in some race cars you will see very tiny wheels just because you can turn quicker. Now, one other thing that we need to talk about are load cell brake pedals, and I would argue a load cell brake pedal is actually a bigger net gain than a pad to a wheel. So here's the thought process behind it. On a normal wheel and pedal set without a load cell brake pedal, the way the brake is measured is from 0 to 100%. So the time it takes to get from 0 to 100 is the time it takes in terms of braking to start that 100% braking efficiency. Now with a load cell, it doesn't measure distance like that, it measures force. So it's like how much force you're putting into the brake pedal. Now you can go to 100% brake force instantly with this method. Instantly, 100% brake force. Well, that tells me that you're now negating this travel time. You have a travel time to go down to here. Now, when I had a load cell brake pedal, I don't have one at the moment, so I can't lift a load cell up. But basically, I noticed very quickly that my braking markers, I would be braking 5-10 meters later, and I was racing at Suzuka. Obviously, Suzuka is one of my balanced performance tracks, so I know it very well. Instantly, I could see improvements in time. I was very inconsistent with it, but I could see improvements in time. So, I would do the same transition period. At that point, I'd be like, okay, I'll set a time with some normal pedals. So I'd do it at the start of a week. I'd then go onto my load cells and I would try and beat it. Initially, again, I'm so used to potentiometer pedals in the fact that they measure distance, it is going to take me a good while to get used to a load cell, but eventually I would get used to it. Now, you're probably saying, why am I not using a load cell now if it's quicker? Well, obviously at the World Tour events, they don't use load cell brake pedals. So I'm trying to make sure I just maintain my my braking efficiency with a potentiometer pedal. But if I was to go to these live events, I would 100% be using a load cell brake pedal right now, because I think it would be better for me in terms of setting lap times and things like that. As I say, that would be very difficult for me to transition. Maybe that's something you would like to see in the future, where I do get a load cell pedal and I do make that transition. Let me know in the comments if you want to see that. It might be an interesting sort of thing. But I know this has been a very more talkative driving school. Literally, obviously we did all the driving at the start, showing you how to improve in that sense. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff, accelerating, braking, oversteer, understeer, all that good stuff, the playlist is there for you. Go check it out. It's got all the detailed episodes in there that will help you improve. It's helped loads of people improve, and I'm glad it has. This is all about the transition. This is how you transition on equipment, whether it's pad to wheel or, you know, potentiometer brake pedal to a low cell brake pedal, or any other equipment that you have, whether it could be a H shifter or anything like that. This is literally what you would do. Set a time on your old equipment because that's what you're comfortable with, and then go to your uncomfortable area and try and improve on that to get yourself comfortable. It's like any situation in life. But that's going to be it for me now, folks. I hope you enjoyed this, I hope, informative video in terms of the driving school. The next driving school originally was going to be live events, but we're actually going to talk about wet weather driving in the next one. So we're going back to driving in Gran Turismo. So make sure you tune in to that one. But that's going to be it for me now, folks. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.